Hello everyone, welcome back to another Doctor Who figure related video. In today's Doctor Who figure related video we are rearranging the Doctor Who figure collection. You might be wondering, well, where are the figures? Well, if I can do it stylishly. Here are the figures. It would be really cool if I had like a little clicker and I could open the doors electronically and I'll go ta-da! But no, we'll work on that for the next one. Now we have the release of the Regeneration Set. I think it's time we add the 14th Doctor to the figure collection alongside with the winter wave of B&M figures. So I'm just going to do a little few pointers before we dive into sort of how the collection looks at the minute. One is, how long have I been collecting the figures? I've been collecting the figures since 2005, so it's nearly 20 years old, and that's kind of depressing to think it's been that long almost. So yeah, this is not a complete Doctor Who collection. It's, I'd say, about 95% complete. It's just missing a few variants of David Tennant, really, because there's quite a load of David Tennant figures out there, and rightfully so. I think he's like the most sold figure. So yeah, I'm going to sort of talk you through how I display the figures and sort of the process. And one thing is, before you have your snarky comment going, oh, but that takes a long time to dust. No, because I've got these TARDIS doors, it kind of stops the dust going in. So yeah, haha, I have defeated you, dust. But yeah, let's have a look how the collection looks right now. So here we have shelf number 1, well technically 2 if you include that, but this is shelf number 1 of the figure. So we have the first Doctor there with all these menagerie. I don't display my figures chronologically because it would just be, especially for the 60s, it would just be Daleks and First Doctors and just all bald men with whisks. But yeah, this is how shelf 1 looks. Obviously we'll have a closer look once it's all rearranged, but you can really see how many Daleks there are for the First Doctor era. I think I've got about 20 Daleks just from the First Doctor era alone, which is crazy. So we move to the second Doctor there. You can see the sort of 13 Doctor set one there. We've put the Abominable Snowman one there because I think that's just a nice little variant to have at the front. Plenty of Cybermen for the second Doctor. And of course at the back we've got some Evil of the Daleks figures there. I don't know if you can see it, they're just there chilling. And then we move on to the third Doctor, probably my favourite display, because you can just see how vibrant it is compared to the 60s. Like, look at that. It is definitely a flourish of colour on the shelf. So yeah, we've got the lovely third Doctor display there, 3 Doctors display at the back. Good old Drashig, one of the favourite figures there. So of course we'll be adding the new Planet Supreme as well to this area. Plenty of Sea Devils. If we move down to the 4th Doctor, so we put the robot 4th Doctor there because I think that that is probably one of the definitive 4th Doctor figures character have done. It's amazing. Of course we'll be adding the new Genesis Daleks to the area and the new Davros, the old K1 there. So yeah, you can really see how sort of fleshed out the sort of Tom Baker area is in figure form. It is mental. I forgot to mention, why is there a Dodo there? I thought I'd do a little funny joke, as the First Doctor companion's called Dodo, so I put a primeval Dodo there to represent Dodo, because Dodo deserves love. Going back down there, we've got the Warriors of a Deep set there, which I've just sort of put in there because, you know, I need to properly rearrange it, and now we're having the chance to properly rearrange the collection. So we've got the late 80s there, 6th Doctor, 7th Doctor. It's all very cool. So I think we're going to have to move McGann down, I think, with how sort of small the room is there. So I feel like we're going to have to push McGann down with the other McGanns there. So we've got a little McGann section there. The Rastrum Warrior robots there to represent the 8 Doctors book, because we have the Sontarans versus the Rastrum Warrior robot in that book. So yeah, very cool. So we've got plenty of 9th Doctor stuff there. Sort of where the figure collection really kick-started, really. So yeah, move 10th Doctor. I've just randomly put the 10th Doctor there because I'll just put him there for now. But we'll find him a new home, and then we go down to the other end of the Tennant set, which is very bright. You can see there. We've got the Time Crash set, which I really do love. That's before one of my prized possessions. And then we move down to the Matt Smith area. Of course, this will be all changed down below. And then we move to the last shelf, which is the Nightmare shelf, because this is the shelf what likes to play dominoes and fall over. So yeah, it's my least favourite shelf, simply because the figures love to fall over, especially Missy. Oh, still a good figure, Then we've got the 13th Doctor here, and then I've just put some Black Series figures there. They'll be moved because they don't belong there, but I just put them there just because I needed to store them somewhere, but they'll be kicked out. So this will just be the Doctor Who figures. So that is how the collection looks right now. That's how the collection looks right now. I guess it's time to begin with a time lapse of taking shelf 1 down, and we'll have a closer look at what's on each shelf really. Right, shelf 1 is done, so the next stage is to polish the shelf and then put the figures back on. So here is shelf 1. I've counted how many figures there are. There are 74 figures on shelf 1 and 43 Daleks, and that's mainly from the Hartnell era Daleks, to be honest. So we can see all the Doctor variants there. Now you may notice I have the black and white version of the first and second Doctor open. I do have them boxed. I may do a part 2 rearranging the Doctor Who figure collection where I show you my in-box Doctor Who figure collection, but for now we'll just focus on these. So we've got the third Doctor figures there, but yeah, you can really see that the Hartnell Daleks really do bulk out this shelf. But I will be honest, this is the shelf where it has probably the most army builders in the form of the Tomb Cybermen, 10th Planet and Invasion Cybermen. I've got quite a few of those, so I think it's mainly duplicates and slight variants. You can see the 10th Planet ones with a slightly paler face of from the sort of original wave, and then one with the sort of darker mask there is from the enemies of the first Doctor. But you can see that it is mainly 60s Dalek. So here we have shelf number 2, which I think is probably gonna be the biggest shelf, as it contains all of the Tom Baker figures, which, you know, there are quite a lot. There's quite a few variants of the 4th Doctor, and there is, I think I counted 119 figures on this shelf and 35 Daleks plus Stavros. So it's going to be interesting to see how all these are going to fit back on the shelf, because we've got to put the new Genesis Daleks there. You can see the colour difference there between them. So it's going to be interesting putting the new Genesis Daleks and of course the new Destiny Daleks, and then I've got to decide whether I want to, if I want to put the both Davroses on there, the Michael Wisher versions. But we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out when we're putting it all back on the shelf. But here we have the 5th Doctor collection. So yeah, quite a few 5th Doctor figures really when you think about it. And then we have all the lovely Cybermen, Vok robots. I think the joy is with doing videos like this is you get to sort of reappraise figures and you forget how great certain figures are, like the Morbius creature. I really love that figure, great figure. And of course we have one of the highly sought after figures there, which is the Emperor Davros, which they have discovered the molds now for it, so maybe we can see this figure back in B&M or as an online exclusive. Now on to shelf number 3, where we start the new series, and yeah, I think there are 109 figures on this shelf and 16 Daleks. So if we move down we can see all the variants of the War Doctor there. And now with the new B&M set, it's quite surprising how many variants of the 9th Doctor there are now. There's quite a few, as you can see. Yeah, it's all very cool. Plenty of Cybermen, obviously, nice little army builder there, and they look great. But yeah, I think I'll show you one sort of variant people don't really know is the Clockwork Droid. This one has quite a navy jacket compared to the other one, which is just a standard black. You can see that's got a slight sort of blue tinge to it compared to that one, so that's a nice little secret variant. We've got the Vashta Nerada again, plenty of little variants of those. But yeah, we've got all the lovely Daleks there, and with Alduar recently saying that there's going to be sort of new moulds for these, so we might see a sort of thinner sculpt Dalek with the Assault Claw. That'd be brilliant, and hopefully some more variants of the Emperor Guard. That'd be amazing. Then we've got the big finished Daleks there. It's all very cool, and of course we do have the famous figure Destroy Cassandra there. So yeah, that is the 3rd shelf. Here we have shelf number 4, so this is the sort of last bit of the 10th Doctor figures and the start of the Matt Smith era. On this shelf there are 74 figures and 14 Daleks, so this is the smallest shelf, so maybe when we get to rearranging this shelf, we can put some figures on from shelf 5 onto it, just to cram a bit more room on there, so we can make room for even more figures when they come out. So yeah, plenty of David Tennant figures to add. We've got to add this monstrosity there to the shelf. Ooh, I don't know where I'm going to put it. Then we've got the Matt Smith figures there, which I love. I love the Series 5 Matt Smith figure, brilliant figure. And of course we have the lovely Ironside figures, the Vesper form, the Paradigm Dalek. So yeah, all that's going to go back on shelf number 4. So let's start rearranging. We are on the final shelf, so shelf number 5, containing the last bits of the Matt Smith era, right up until the 14th Doctor. So it'd be great to finally add him to the shelf. So yeah, this is, well, I think there are 92 figures on this shelf, and there are 8 Daleks, so we've got plenty of Matt Smith variants, and I think this is when the line really started to decline, and I'd say this is sort of the dark times in the character options line, because when you get to Capaldi's era, yeah, it's just Capaldi's, Missy, you know, and a few Bills. Whereas the 13th Doctor, at least you sort of got a bit of variety with a few monsters like the Jejune and the Recon Dalek. So yeah, I think the 12th Doctor is definitely the most underserved Doctor in figure form. But there we go, so let's add these to the shelf and then show you how it looks right now, all the collection. Okay, so the rearranging is all complete, so this is how the collection looks. Let's take a closer look at shelf 1. So shelf 1, not much has changed. As you can see, I don't display the figures chronologically, because this is when it really starts to suffer in the 60s era, because you've just got, you know, Daleks, but especially when you get to the 80s, where it just becomes a little bit awkward trying to do it chronologically. So of course we've got the very first TARDIS there, what was released for the first Doctor, the FP exclusive, which I love. I think that's a nice little bookmark to start the journey of Doctor Who. We've got a bit of a 10th Planet recreation there, which is all very exciting. Then we've got some of the black and white sets there. We've got some of the Vord, Ian Chesterton, centre right there, just to break it up, so we just don't have Daleks all at the front. But I love having the Mechanist Daleks at the front, because it just is a nice pop of colour instead of just sort of a standard sort of Dalek colour scheme, which is all very nice, and I quite like it because it seems very sort of comic book-esque in the centre right first Doctor there. Got a bit of a Daleks Masters band display there, which is all very cool, and at the back we have the Dalek Invasion of Earth sort of inspired thing, and I've brought the Mechanoid forward just again to add a little bit of variety instead of just hundreds of Daleks at the front. Second Doctor, again, considering he's a Doctor of Monsters, he's literally just got Cybermen, Daleks and Ice Warriors, so it's of course only fitting we put the Ice Warriors at the front because they're such good figures. And of course, you know, like I say, not chronological because we've got a Power Dalek there, and obviously the Ice Warriors became after Power of the Daleks. And then we've got a bit of a Tomb of the Cybermen display if the camera will focus. Hopefully you can focus, there we go. Bit of a Tomb of the Cybermen display there. And at the back we do have a bit of an Evil of the Daleks display there. We've got some of the evil Dalek guards, Emperor Guard Dalek drones. And then we have a bit of an invasion display there with the invasion of Cybermen, which are all very cool. We have the B&M cyber controller there. Moving to the third Doctor now. I thought it'd be quite nice just to put Benton next to the second Doctor, because you know the second Doctor and Benton did appear together, so it's sort of a nice sort of cross between the two there. We move on to the third Doctor. Yeah, I'm surprised I managed to fit the History of Dalek set on here, because it's quite a small space, but we've got a 3 Doctors displayed there, which is all very cool. Some Autons, love the Pertwee Daleks. I think they're one of the best in the History of the Daleks range. Bit of a Day of the Daleks sort of promo inspired thing there. Put a Sea Devil at the front because again, I noticed that Daleks were at the front, so I was like, well, let's put a Sea Devil at the front. We've got the lovely Planet Dalek there, and if we move to the back you can see the Time Monster sort of control thing, and then we've got some more Time Monster third Doctor and the Planet Supreme and the stealth sort of invisible Dalek, Time Warrior, a bit of a Death to a Dalek inspired thing, the rest of my Sea Devil army, and then we move to the front there where we say goodbye to the third Doctor. So that is shelf 1. Shelf 2 is where we start to see a lot of alterations, because I think I'm getting to the point now where when the next little B&M set stuff is going to come out, I'm probably going to have to move some of the variants off, because I've managed to put all the Genesis Daleks on here. So I've put the new ones at the front because obviously they're more accurate with the colour scheme, but I have kept my favourite original Genesis Dalek there, which is the collector set 1 there. I have kept the original Michael Wisher Davros there as well, right at the back there, chilling. But I've put the new one at the front because, you know, much superior paint apps, and we have the definitive 4th Doctor figure. But yeah, you can see how that's all looking. As you can see, I like to do sort of regeneration display, so if there's a regeneration option, I know that's a custom 3rd Doctor, but it's just nice to put sort of regeneration figures together because they're quite unique. So we move to the front there, you can see sort of that, and then we have a lovely Destiny of the Daleks display. I absolutely love the new Destiny Daleks, what for an History of a Dalek set. I think they're such cool figures, and I absolutely love them. But yeah, we've got the rest of the 4th Doctor. We've got a sort of a Robots of Death inspired display at the back there, and then the other variant of the Talons of Weng Chiang 4th Doctor. A bit more Pyramids of Mars goodness there. And then we move into the 80s. Like I say, we've got a bit of a regeneration display there, which is all very cool. And again, like I say, not chronological because, you know, why would the Warriors of the Deep Silurians be at the start of season 19? But I put the Cyber Leader there because he's sort of a main baddie, isn't he? Because he causes trauma for the 5th Doctor by losing Adric. So yeah, very cool. We managed to have all the 7th Doctor era originally on this shelf, but the 7th Doctors had to be moved down. So this is how the 80s shelf is looking at the minute. Plenty of 5th Doctor figures. We've got Silver, it's all very cool. And of course we have Colin Baker's section there, and we move to sort of Silver Nemesis and the sort of beginning of the McCoy era, as it were. So the 3rd shelf, like I said, this is where the rest of the 7th Doctor figures have gone, simply because there wasn't room for them. So I've put the B&M Planet Supreme Dalek there at the back to sort of be sort of a genocide machine Supreme Dalek, because it was in the 7th Doctor audio. So I thought, you know what, save having 2 Planet Supremes on the shelf on the 3rd Doctor era, let's give it the 7th Doctor just to give a bit more variety. I know the 7th Doctor is just Daleks and Cybermen, so yeah, there we go. So we've got the new 8th Doctor there because I really do like him, Dalek Alpha, and then we have a lovely sort of remembrance of the Daleks display there, Ace bashing the Dalek and the 7th Doctor being strangled with the Emperor Davros there. It's all very cool. Then we move on to the 8th Doctor and War Doctor section. You can see not much really has changed. I've just sort of more compacted this area of the shelf, as you can see there. We've got the 9th Doctor green jumper, and we've put some of the new 9th Doctor variants on there, like the holographic one there, and then we have the new head sculpt version there. So yeah, it's all very cool. Got the Sycorax sort of beginning of series 2, Attack of the Grasks there, you know, just to give a bit of love for that. And then we have plenty of Cybermen, and you can see how that has all sort of come together really. We've got a bit of series 3 there, the werewolf towering over the Genesis arc there. But yeah, very nice, very happy with how this is displayed. Now I've got to be honest, this sort of B&M 10th Doctor really does pop on the shelf nicely. Therefore, again, there's been a few alterations. I've managed to compact pretty much all the Matt Smith figures on this shelf, which is all very cool. So we've got the last bit of the David Tennant figures there. Again, B&M 10th Doctor really does pop on the shelf, and we do have the monstrosity 10th Doctor just chilling at the back. So that's how this display is looking. I will do a figure collection later on down in the year once you get a few more figures, but you can see how that is all looking. I have to say, it looks a lot better. Having all these figures together, it just makes it seem a lot better than sort of spaced out. It just seems more compact and ideal. I've put the Pandorica on this shelf, which I think works a lot better. So we've got a bit of a Pandorica opens display. And then the last shelf, again, we have the sort of remnants of the Matt Smith figures there. So we've got the Silent and the really strange Matt Smith figures there with the beard, where they were trying to make Matt Smith like Jesus. All very strange sort of stuff. Weird figures to have. And yeah, we've got sort of an Asylum with a Dalek sort of recreation there. And again, nice little regeneration display there of the figures, and a bit of a 50th celebration there, which is very cool in the Gallifrey painting. And I do have a dinosaur from Primeval to represent dinosaurs on a spaceship. Now, you may be wondering, why is there a Pyrovel priestess there? That's just to sort of be a monk, really, because I thought it's a nice little stand-in for a monk for Capaldi. Just, again, add a bit of variety. We've added the David Bradley figure there, just so he can get a bit of love for the 12th Doctor. Give it, again, variety. 13th Doctor figures now, all very cool. Again, nice sort of shelf presence with the figures. I've added the B&M McGann there to represent sort of the Guardians of the Edge 8th Doctor. Again, a bit more variety for the 13th Doctor, and I've added some of the TARDISes. I've not added all the TARDISes, and I've added the 13th Doctor or 14th Doctor TARDIS now and 15th Doctor TARDIS there to sort of bookend the collection with the 14th Doctor. So that is pretty much how the collection is looking right now. That is the Doctor Who figure collection rearranging for February 2023. Yeah, I guess all now we've got to do is wait for more figures to be announced. I'm sure we'll have plenty more B&M sets coming and hopefully a few more online exclusives. I may do a part 2 if you want to see a part 2 of rearranging the figure collection where I take a look at the figures I have in box. And comment down below, it'd be interesting to know if people want to see sort of a look, take a look, more of an in-depth look at the figures I have in box and sort of explain why I've got certain figures in box. But yeah, that's a figure collection. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time for more Doctor related content. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, do all that lovely stuff, and I'll see you next time for more Doctor Who shenanigans. So thank you very much, and bye bye.